A German Shepherd puppy trembled under fallen branches until a U.S. Marine cleared the debris. Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's return to our main character. The forest still smells of wet pine and broken earth, the kind of scent that lingers after a long night of wind tearing through the tree-line. Somewhere beneath those fallen branches, a tiny German Shepherd puppy trembles, so small he could disappear into the shadows if not for the faint quiver of his breath. The world around him is quiet now, the storm long gone, but the silence feels heavier than the wind ever did. No birdsong. No rustling leaves. Just the soft, quick rhythm of a life holding on. His fur is damp, pressed flat against his little ribs, each breath a fragile rise and fall, like he's borrowing time rather than living it. The branches above him aren't heavy, not enough to harm, but enough to trap him in a cradle of splintered limbs and cold morning air. And out on the forest trail, Staff Sergeant Cole Harlow moves with the slow caution of a man who has learned to listen to quiet things. His boots press into the softened ground, leaving deep impressions shaped by years of training and a heart that still searches for purpose. He pauses. There it is again, a sound barely larger than a sigh. Almost too soft to notice, almost too easy to ignore. But not for him. Cole lifts his head, listening. The breeze carries the faintest tremble, a tiny whimper swallowed by the smell of rain-soaked bark. Something inside him shifts, the same instinct that once kept his unit alive in places far harsher than this peaceful woodland. He steps off the trail, brushing aside ferns, lowering his voice without even realizing it. Easy. I'm coming, he murmurs, though he doesn't yet know who he's speaking to. The underbrush parts, and a faint shimmer of movement catches his eye, a small paw, half hidden beneath a lattice of fallen branches. For a moment, time narrows to the space between Cole's heartbeat and the puppy's trembling breaths. No danger. No mission. Just a quiet plea wrapped in fur and fear. Cole kneels, the cold from the ground seeping through the fabric of his uniform. His hands move slowly, carefully, clearing the debris piece by piece. The branches crack softly under his touch, the sound gentle, reassuring rather than abrupt. And beneath them, the puppy tries to lift his head but doesn't quite manage it. His amber eyes flicker open, holding the dim morning light like two tiny sparks refusing to go out. Cole exhales, a breath he didn't know he was holding. There you are, he whispers, voice soft as the shifting breeze. The puppy's ears twitch at the sound, and something in that small movement steadies Cole's hands. As he lifts the last branch away, the forest seems to exhale with him, the quiet turning warmer, less haunted. The puppy isn't safe yet, not fully, not truly, but for the first time since the storm, he is seen. And sometimes, being seen is where miracles begin. Cole reaches out slowly, letting the back of his hand hover near the trembling puppy so the little one can feel his warmth before being touched. The morning air is still cool enough to sting the lungs, but the small body beneath the scattered pine needles carries its own fragile heat, the kind that fades if left alone too long. Ash blinks once, then again, as if trying to decide whether this new presence is danger or deliverance. Cole softens his breath, steady and low, a quiet rhythm meant to calm. It is all right, buddy, he murmurs, letting the words fall like warm sand over a cold stone. Ash lifts his tiny chin, the movement slight, almost hesitant, but it is enough for Cole to slide his arms beneath him. The puppy weighs almost nothing, a bundle of damp fur and shivering courage, small enough to fit against Cole's chest without effort. The moment the pup feels the fabric of Cole's uniform, he presses closer, as though guided by instinct older than fear. Cole stands, cradling the warm little shape against his heartbeat. The forest around them carries the faint whisper of the storm's passing, branches still dripping, earth still soft. A ribbon of sunlight cuts through the clearing and touches Ash's fur, turning each drop of water into a trembling spark. Cole notices how the puppy's paws curl inward, how his breathing steadies just slightly, how the fear in those light amber eyes does not disappear but shifts into something more trusting. He pulls the edge of his jacket around the pup, creating a small pocket of warmth. The world grows quieter as Cole walks back toward the trail, each step careful, almost reverent. He remembers storms of his own, moments when a steady hand or a kind voice had pulled him out of darkness he once believed permanent. Maybe that is why his grip tightens just a little, not out of force, but out of a quiet promise. Ash lets out a soft sound, not quite a whine, more like a question. Cole glances down. "I have got you," he whispers. It is not dramatic. It is not loud. But it carries the weight of a man who means every word. The trail opens ahead, sunlight warming the damp soil, and Cole feels the puppy's head settle against his chest. The trembling eases. Not fully, but enough to say the little soul is holding on. Enough to say he believes help has finally arrived. Cole pauses once more, listening to the forest breathe. The storm may have broken the branches, but it had not broken this small life. And as he starts toward his truck, Ash's tiny sigh warms the air between them, a quiet signal that hope has begun to root itself in the soft space between fear and safety. For the first time since dawn, Cole allows himself a small smile, sensing the beginning of something he cannot yet name, but feels deeply, like sunlight finding its way back through the trees. Cole reaches the edge of the trail where the storm has left the ground soft and uneven, the earth giving slightly beneath his boots as he moves toward the small parking area where his truck waits beneath a canopy of trembling branches. Ash is still tucked beneath his jacket, the weight so light it feels more like a memory than a creature, yet every tiny shift of the pup's body sends a quiet message into Cole's chest. The morning light grows stronger, warming the air just enough for mist to lift from the soil in thin ribbons. Cole opens the truck door carefully, mindful not to jostle the little 1. The hinges give a soft creak, and Ash startles with a faint twitch, his paws curling slightly as he tries to burrow deeper into the fabric. Cole steadies him with a warm hand against his back. "You are safe. I promise," he says quietly, the words shaped with a calm he has not felt in a long while. He eases into the driver's seat, keeping Ash wrapped against his chest as he adjusts his jacket to create a small nest. The truck interior still holds the faint scent of pine air freshener and yesterday's rain-soaked gear. Ash lifts his head just enough for his nose to press against the collar of Cole's uniform, inhaling a slow breath as if memorizing the scent of the person who pulled him from the broken limbs. Cole notices how the puppy's eyes flutter, not from fear now but from the warmth spreading through him. He places one hand on the steering wheel and keeps the other steady against the pup, his thumb brushing gently along the damp fur. The engine rumbles to life, a low and steady vibration that seems to soothe Ash further. The road ahead winds through tall pines still dripping from last night's storm. Sunlight breaks through in scattered patches, landing on the windshield like soft gold. Cole drives slowly, every turn measured, as if the world has suddenly become fragile and deserving of gentler hands. Ash lets out a small sigh, the sound impossibly soft, like a spark of trust forming in real time. Cole glances down, and for a moment, something inside him shifts. This little life, pressed so close to his heartbeat, stirs a memory of why he once believed in rescue missions, in second chances, in showing up even when the world felt heavy. The winding road opens into a wider stretch, and the town's small veterinary clinic comes into view, its pale blue sign slightly tilted from the storm. The gravel crunches beneath the truck tires as Cole pulls in. He pauses, letting the engine settle into silence. Ash's paws flex against his jacket, and those light amber eyes open again, softer now, as if sensing the change in the air. Cole leans his forehead briefly against the puppy's, a quiet gesture of reassurance. "We are going to get you some help," he whispers. Ash presses closer, tiny heartbeat tapping steadily against Cole's chest. In that stillness, the world feels gentler, as if two fragile stories have just begun to intertwine, each offering the other a reason to keep moving forward. Cole steps out of the truck with Ash held close, the morning air cool enough to make the puppy's tiny breaths puff softly against his jacket. Gravel shifts beneath his boots as he moves toward the clinic door, its glass still fogged from the night chill. A small bell above the frame gives a gentle ring when he enters, the kind of sound that feels like a whisper rather than a greeting. Inside, the lights are warm and low, carrying the faint scent of antiseptic mixed with cedar shavings. A receptionist looks up, startled at first, then softening when she sees the small bundle pressed to Cole's chest. "One moment," she says quietly, disappearing through a side door. Ash stirs, his paws flexing weakly, his nose brushing the collar of Cole's uniform as if trying to stay anchored to the warmth he found within it. Cole tightens the fold of his jacket around him, not out of fear of losing him, but because some fragile part of him hopes the puppy can feel just how much he is being cared for. Footsteps approach. Dr. Maren Blake, a woman in her late 40s with calm hazel eyes and a steady presence, walks into the room with a practiced gentleness that makes the air feel safer. Her dark hair is tied back loosely, a few strands softening her expression. "Let me see him," she says, not rushed, not startled, just present. Cole unfolds the jacket slowly, revealing Ash's small trembling form. The puppy blinks up at the stranger, ears twitching but not pulling away. Dr. Blake places her hands beneath him with the care of someone lifting a newborn, her touch light but assured. She listens to his breathing, watches the tiny rise and fall of his ribs, then nods toward an examination room. "Come with me." He is cold and exhausted, but he is fighting. That is a good sign. Cole follows, the sound of his boots muffled by the soft flooring. The room carries a gentle hum from a warming lamp already switched on, casting a soft amber glow across the metal table. Dr. Blake sets Ash on a thick towel beneath the lamp, adjusting it so the warmth spreads evenly across his damp fur. Ash curls slightly, his head tilting as if trying to track Cole's presence even when his eyes grow heavy. "He must have been out there through the entire storm," she murmurs. "He is dehydrated, chilled, and frightened, but I do not see broken bones or major injury. The biggest danger was the cold." Cole exhales, the tension in his shoulders easing though he had not noticed how much weight he carried until now. He was alone. I do not know for how long. Dr. Blake glances at him, studying the mixture of concern and quiet resolve etched into his face. "He was waiting for someone who would not walk past him," she says softly. "It seems he chose well." Ash lets out a faint sound, almost a breathy hum, and his paws shift toward Cole's direction as if reaching for the familiar heartbeat. Cole steps closer, resting two fingers lightly against the puppy's small shoulder. Ash responds with the smallest lean, barely more than a whisper of trust, but enough to draw a gentle warmth through the room. Dr. Blake smiles. "Keep talking to him. He knows your voice already." Cole nods, letting his words fall slowly into the quiet. "I am right here, little one. You are not alone anymore." And in that warm amber glow, with the storm far behind them, something unspoken settles between man and pup, fragile but real, like the first steady breath after fear begins to fade. Dr. Blake adjusts the warming lamp slightly, and the soft amber glow deepens across Ash's small frame, giving his fur a gentle shimmer that makes him look less fragile than he had in the cold woods. His breathing evens out in slow, careful waves, each one a little steadier than the last. Cole stands beside the table, one hand resting near the edge as if afraid that stepping back might undo the fragile progress they have earned. Ash shifts his head toward the warmth of Cole's presence, a tiny nuzzle of instinct rather than strength, but it carries a quiet message that lands softly in the room. Dr. Blake prepares a small bowl of electrolyte solution, warming it with her hands before placing it near Ash's muzzle. "If he takes even a little, it will help," she says gently. Ash sniffs, hesitates, then laps once, the movement slow and tentative. Cole watches the way the puppy's tongue barely grazes the surface, how he pauses as if surprised to discover he can still drink. "That is good," Dr. Blake murmurs. "That means he is coming back to himself." Cole's shoulders ease, the tension slowly melting. He had not realized how tightly he had been holding himself together since the moment he heard that faint whimper in the forest. Ash drinks again, slightly more confident this time, and his ears twitch in a way that makes Cole's chest warm with relief. When Ash finishes, he lifts his gaze toward Cole, the light reflecting in his amber eyes, soft but aware. "He trusts you," Dr. Blake says quietly. "That can do as much healing as anything I give him." Cole keeps his voice low, steady. "I am not going anywhere." Ash lets out a soft sound, almost like a breathy hum of acknowledgement, and his small paws curl into the towel beneath him. The warming lamp hums gently, filling the silence with a calming rhythm. For a moment, the storm feels far away, reduced to a distant memory instead of the force that nearly claimed a life. Dr. Blake steps aside to prepare a gentle nutrient supplement, leaving Cole alone beside the table. He leans closer, his hand hovering just above Ash's back, close enough for the puppy to feel his warmth. "You did well out there," Cole whispers. "You held on." The words are simple, but they land with a weight that feels deeper than encouragement. Ash shifts, pressing the side of his tiny face into Cole's hand, seeking comfort with the innocence of a creature who has known fear but not yet given up on hope. Cole inhales slowly, grounding himself in that small gesture. The door clicks softly as Dr. Blake returns with a syringe of liquid nutrients, gentle and measured. "This will help him regain energy," she says. Ash accepts the nourishment with tired patience, eyelids fluttering as warmth spreads through him. His breathing evens further, his body relaxing in small increments. "He will need rest," Dr. Blake says. "But he is responding beautifully. You brought him in at the right moment." Cole looks at Ash, the fragile bundle of courage wrapped in a towel, illuminated by the gentle glow of the lamp. The pup's chest rises and falls in a steady rhythm now, a quiet declaration that he is still here, still holding on. Still choosing to live. Cole whispers, barely above a breath, "You are safe, little one." Ash's tiny body settles deeper into the towel, trusting fully, as if those words are enough to carry him into the next moment with peace. Cole stays beside the examination table as the minutes stretch into a gentle rhythm, marked only by the puppy's soft breaths and the hum of the warming lamp. Ash has grown still, not from weakness now, but from the kind of rest that settles in when fear finally loosens its grip. His small body rises and falls in slow, steady waves, each one a quiet declaration that he is still fighting in the only way he can. Dr. Blake moves with the calm assurance of someone who has walked this road with many fragile lives before. She checks Ash's temperature, adjusts the towel beneath him, and offers a reassuring nod. His body is responding. But recovering from cold like this takes time. It will not be a straight line. Cole listens, absorbing every word. The storm outside the clinic windows has begun to clear completely, leaving a soft, pearly light across the sky. Drops of water cling to the glass like tiny reminders of where this journey started. Ash shifts slightly, his paws stretching before curling back in as if he is testing the comfort of this new world. Cole leans closer, letting his fingers rest lightly near the edge of the towel. "I am here," he whispers. Ash's ear twitches at the sound, and even half asleep, he nudges his head toward Cole's hand, guided by instinct and a growing trust. Dr. Blake prepares a small heating pad and places it under the towel, adjusting the temperature with quiet precision. He is warming well, but this next hour matters. Sometimes the body can rise and fall before it stabilizes. Her voice is gentle, not alarming, simply honest. Cole nods, keeping his eyes on Ash. The puppy's breathing deepens, then slows for a moment, causing Cole's heart to tighten. He leans down, speaking softly. "Stay with me, little one." As if answering a call, Ash's chest lifts again, smoother this time, and a faint sound escapes him, a tiny exhale that carries a note of reassurance. The quiet moment washes over Cole like a tide of relief. Dr. Blake steps aside to record Ash's vitals, giving Cole space without ever leaving the room. She glances toward them with a soft smile. "He hears you." Some animals respond more to presence than medicine. Cole keeps his voice low, steady as a heartbeat. You are doing great, Ash. The puppy stirs again, eyelids fluttering open just enough for his amber gaze to find Cole. It is a fragile look, but a clear one, the kind that carries a small spark of recognition. Ash inches his head along the towel, pushing closer with the faintest determination. Cole gently cups his hand around the side of the puppy's face, offering warmth and steadiness. The contact settles Ash almost instantly. His breathing grows rhythmic, his tiny sigh filling the room with something that feels like the earliest form of hope. Dr. Blake watches the exchange quietly, her expression softening. He is choosing to fight, she says. And he is choosing you to anchor him through it. Cole nods, unable to tear his gaze away from the tiny life resting beneath the amber light. The storm may have stripped the woods bare, but here, in the stillness of a small clinic, something new is beginning to root itself, tender, fragile, and determined to live. Cole keeps his hand gently near Ash as the warming lamp continues its soft glow, filling the room with a quiet golden calm. The clinic has settled into a stillness that feels almost sacred, the kind of hush that comes when both fear and urgency begin to ease their grip. Outside the window, the last remnants of storm cloud drift apart, letting in a pale beam of sunlight that stretches across the floor like a quiet blessing. Ash's breathing deepens, rhythmic and slow, his small chest rising with a steadiness that had not been there an hour ago. His paws twitch faintly, not from distress now, but from a fragile contentment settling through his tiny body. Dr. Blake observes the monitor, then glances at Cole with a soft nod. He is stabilizing. He is doing everything I hoped he would do. Her voice carries a kind of warmth that reassures without making promises, a tone shaped by years of guiding small lives through delicate journeys. Cole lets out a breath he did not realize he had been holding. He watches the puppy's face, the way Ash's eyelids flutter open just enough to find him, how his gaze drifts but never fully leaves Cole's presence. It feels like a spark being passed back and forth between them, small but undeniable. Dr. Blake prepares a fresh towel from a cabinet, placing it near the table. Once he has rested a bit more, you can hold him again. It will help him feel secure. Cole nods, understanding without needing explanation. Ash stirs, stretching his paws slowly before curling them back in, as if gathering the last pieces of warmth into himself. A soft hum of contentment escapes him, barely audible but enough to make Dr. Blake smile. That sound, she says quietly, means he feels safe. Cole steps closer, lowering his voice. You are doing great, Ash. I am right here. The puppy's ears twitch at the familiar cadence, and he makes a tiny effort to lift his head. It wobbles slightly before settling back into the towel, but the attempt alone sends a gentle ache through Cole's chest. It is the kind of ache that comes from witnessing a life fight to stay anchored. Minutes pass, slow and tender. Ash's breathing grows more consistent, each inhale carrying more strength than the one before. Cole watches the pulse at the side of the puppy's neck, steady and sure now, like a small drumbeat calling hope forward. Dr. Blake gently checks Ash's temperature again. He is warming beautifully. When he wakes fully, he will need nourishment, but the hardest part is passing. Cole releases another soft breath. He rests his hand lightly against the towel, close enough for Ash to sense him. The puppy responds with a tiny lean, nudging his forehead toward Cole's palm in a gesture so simple yet so full of trust that it pulls the room into a deeper stillness. He chose you in that forest, Dr. Blake says softly. And he is choosing you again now. Cole keeps his hand steady, his voice a warm whisper. You are not alone anymore. Ash settles once more, breathing peacefully under the amber light, as if those words carry enough strength to hold him through whatever comes next. The clinic grows quieter as the afternoon light softens, drifting across the floor in pale streaks that move with the slow passing of clouds. Ash rests beneath the warming lamp, his small body curled into the fresh towel Dr. Blake arranged, his breathing steady enough now that each rise and fall feels like a quiet anchor holding the room together. Cole remains beside him, not sitting, not leaning, simply standing close enough for the puppy to feel the steady presence he has come to recognize. Every so often, Ash's ear twitches at the sound of Cole's breath, a faint reminder that even in sleep, he knows he is not alone. Dr. Blake steps back into the room with a small bottle, her steps soft and measured. "This will help his energy once he wakes fully," she says, placing the bottle on the counter. Her eyes drift toward the table, studying Ash with a gentleness that seems to wrap itself around the moment. He is stable. But sometimes, when tiny bodies warm too quickly, they can tire again. If that happens, do not panic. Just keep speaking to him. Cole nods, absorbing every detail. "He fought so hard out there," he murmurs, his gaze fixed on the fragile rise of Ash's chest. "I think he is still fighting." Ash stirs slightly, his body stretching in a tiny arc before settling. His eyelids flutter, showing a glimpse of amber before sliding closed again. Cole moves his hand closer, letting the warmth of his palm reach the puppy without touching him directly. "It is all right, Ash," he whispers. "Take your time." For a moment, the room holds its breath with the puppy. Then Ash gives a faint sigh, a soft release of tension that eases the tightness in Cole's chest. Dr. Blake smiles, adjusting the lamp again. "He hears you," she says. "Some animals latch onto a voice the way others latch onto touch. It is their way of choosing a lifeline." Cole glances at her, and she nods with confirmation. "Yes. He has chosen you." Outside, the wind shifts, brushing against the building with a gentleness that feels entirely different from the storm that tore through the forest earlier. The sky has opened into a calm stretch of pale blue, quiet and forgiving. Ash wakes briefly, lifting his head no more than an inch. His gaze finds Cole instantly, his eyes hazy but certain, as if remembering the shape of safety. Cole leans closer, letting his fingertips brush the soft fur between Ash's ears. The puppy nudges into the touch with a tired determination, his small body leaning toward the warmth of the hand he trusts. The contact sends a ripple of emotion through Cole, something steadying, something unexpectedly grounding. "You are doing so well," he whispers, voice warm enough to soften the edges of the room. Ash lowers his head, curling one paw forward as though reaching. His breathing slows again, more peaceful now, more certain. Dr. Blake watches in silence, allowing the moment to settle naturally. "He will need rest," she says softly. "But this is a very good sign." Cole stays close, his presence a quiet promise. Even as Ash drifts back into sleep, his tiny body settles in the direction of that steady warmth, trusting it to hold him through whatever comes next. Cole stands quietly beside the table as afternoon drifts toward early evening, the golden edges of sunlight softening into a muted glow through the clinic windows. Ash remains curled beneath the warming lamp, his tiny breath steady and warm now, each one a gentle reminder that life has begun to return to him piece by fragile piece. The air holds a calm weight, the kind that settles in only after fear has loosened its final hold. Dr. Blake walks in again, carrying a small cup filled with a nutrient blend, warming it between her hands before setting it nearby. "When he wakes, he will need this," she says quietly. "But we will not rush him." Cole nods, keeping his gaze on the puppy who had fought so hard just to reach this moment of stillness. Ash shifts, stretching one paw forward with a slow, sleepy determination. His eyelids flutter, then open just enough for him to take in the warm room. The first thing he looks for is Cole. His head lifts a little, wobbling under its own weight, but the sight of the Marine seems to give him focus. Cole leans closer, offering a steady hand near Ash's face. "Hey there," he whispers, voice soft as dust settling after a long storm. Ash noses gently against his fingers, then rests his head in the warm space between them, as if finding the one place that feels entirely safe. For a moment, the quiet grows deeper. The puppy's breath softens, not from weakness but from comfort, as if he is letting himself believe he no longer has to fight alone. Dr. Blake watches with a warm smile. "You can try giving him a little," she says, handing Cole the small cup. Cole brings it close to the puppy's muzzle. Ash sniffs, hesitates, then gives the faintest lick, tasting the warmth. Another small lick follows. Then another. Cole's shoulders relax as the puppy slowly accepts more, each sip a tiny act of courage. When Ash pulls back, satisfied but tired, Cole sets the cup aside and gently strokes the fur along his neck. "You are doing amazing," he murmurs. Ash leans into the touch with a soft sigh, his small body pressing ever so slightly against Cole's palm. That small gesture sends a wave of quiet emotion through the room, grounding everything in a tenderness that feels almost sacred. But then, as the minutes pass and Ash grows drowsy again, a subtle shift occurs. His breathing slows. His paws curl inward. His eyelids flutter once, then stay closed a little too long. Cole stiffens, instinctively leaning closer. "Ash," he whispers, barely audible. The puppy does not respond at first. His breathing pauses, just for a moment, but long enough for fear to slip into the room again. Dr. Blake steps forward quickly but calmly, placing her hand near the puppy's chest. She closes her eyes, listening, feeling. The world holds its breath with her. Then, just as the silence grows too heavy, Ash's tiny body rises with a deep inhale, fuller than before, stronger and more certain. The room exhales with him. Cole closes his eyes, relief sweeping through him like warm light after a dark night. Ash shifts, nestling into the towel again, his small body finally settling in a rhythm that speaks of hope rather than struggle. Dr. Blake gives a soft nod. "He is past the hardest part," she says. "Now he is choosing to stay." Ash breathes steadily, peacefully, his tiny frame curled toward the warmth of Cole's presence, as if that presence alone is enough to guide him the rest of the way home. Cole remains beside the table as the clinic settles into an evening hush, the kind of quiet that feels earned after a long day of holding on. The last of the light filters through the window, painting the room in soft tones of gold and pale blue. Ash is curled tightly in his towel, his breathing even and warm now, each inhale a gentle reminder of how far he has come from the shattered morning beneath the branches. Dr. Blake finishes updating her notes, her movements calm and unhurried. "He will sleep deeply for a while," she says softly. His body finally trusts that it can rest. Cole watches the rise and fall of the tiny chest, a rhythm that steadies something inside him. He nods, not wanting to disturb the peace settling over the room. Ash stirs slightly, stretching one paw before tucking it back beneath him. His eyelids remain closed, but his nose twitches, tracking the familiar scent near him. Even in sleep, he gravitates toward the presence that pulled him from the storm. Cole leans closer, letting his hand hover just above Ash's back. "You are safe," he whispers, barely louder than the hum of the warming lamp. For a moment, the puppy responds with a tiny shift, a soft lean toward the warmth he senses. It is instinct, but it is also trust, shaped quietly over the hours of care and the soft rhythm of Cole's voice. Dr. Blake steps beside him, lowering her voice. "You know," she says, "some animals decide their future long before they have the strength to show it. He decided the moment he heard you." Cole absorbs the words, his gaze steady on the small life that has somehow anchored itself to him. "I just did what anyone would do," he says quietly. Dr. Blake smiles gently. "Do not diminish it. Not everyone listens for the small cries." The room grows still again, the kind of stillness that feels wrapped in grace. Outside, the evening air shifts, carrying with it the faint scent of damp pine and earth rinsed clean by the storm. Cole feels the weight of the day settle through him, but not heavily. Instead, it settles like something meant to be carried. Ash inhales deeply, his body stretching in a tiny arc before settling once more. Then, in a small act of strength, he blinks his eyes open. They are clearer now, warmer, like embers waking beneath soft ashes. He looks directly at Cole. The connection is quiet but unmistakable. Cole brings his hand closer, and Ash nudges his nose into the warm space beneath Cole's fingers. It is not a plea this time, not a fragile reaching. It is something steadier. A greeting. A choosing. Dr. Blake watches the moment unfold, a soft glow in her expression. He is awake enough to know who is here, she whispers. And awake enough to want you near him. Ash gives a small sigh, a sound full of contentment, and rests his head fully against Cole's hand. The room holds the moment gently, like a fragile truth settling into place. Cole whispers, "I am right here, Ash." And in that simple promise, something bright flickers back to life inside the tiny pup, as if the storm that nearly took him has finally released its hold, allowing him to breathe into a world where hope has found him again. Cole stays beside Ash as the soft evening light folds deeper into the clinic, turning the room into a quiet harbor where warmth outweighs the memory of the storm. The puppy's eyes, now clearer and steadier, follow Cole with a faint spark that flickers like the earliest hint of curiosity. Ash shifts slightly on the towel, stretching his paws with the slow, tentative movements of a small body relearning comfort. Dr. Blake watches with a calm satisfaction that settles gently across her features. "He knows he is safe," she says softly. "That is half the healing." Cole nods, though his eyes never leave Ash. Something in the way the puppy leans into his presence touches a place inside him that has been quiet for a long time. He offers his hand again, palm open and warm. Ash noses into it, his small breaths puffing softly against Cole's skin. It feels like a thank you, and also like the beginning of something wordless and meaningful. Dr. Blake steps closer, holding a small blanket she had warmed in a dryer. "He can be held again," she says gently. "Carefully. It will help regulate his temperature and calm him even more." Cole moves slowly, mindful of the tiny weight he is about to carry. He slides one hand beneath Ash's small body, the other supporting his chest, and lifts him with a steadiness shaped by years of taking care in moments that mattered. Ash melts into the blanket almost instantly, tucking his head beneath Cole's hand as though claiming the space as his. His breathing deepens, warm and rhythmic, filling the quiet room with a sense of peace that seems to spread from the pup to the man holding him. Cole sits on a nearby bench, cradling Ash against his chest. The puppy's heartbeat is small, rapid, but strong, tapping gently through the layers of fabric. Cole lowers his chin slightly, allowing Ash to press into the crook of his arm. For a long moment, they stay like that, still, breathing in sync, letting the world shrink to warmth and trust. Dr. Blake observes quietly, her smile soft. "He looks at you the way animals do when they find their person," she murmurs. Cole does not answer at first. He simply watches the tiny rise and fall of the puppy's chest, the way Ash's ears twitch at the sound of his voice when he whispers, "You are doing so well." Ash shifts again, pushing his nose gently against Cole's shirt. It is not searching, not uncertain, but grounding, as if Cole has become the one place where his world makes sense. The clinic's lights dim slightly as evening settles in fully. Shadows lengthen across the floor, but the warm glow around Cole and Ash remains steady, wrapping the two of them in something that feels quietly miraculous. Dr. Blake updates the chart one last time. "He will recover," she says softly. "And he will thrive with someone who understands him." Cole nods, emotion gathering softly in his eyes, though he does not look away from the small life in his arms. Ash exhales in a long, peaceful stream of breath, then nestles even closer, surrendering to rest with absolute trust. And in that gentle wait, Cole feels something healing within himself as well, as if saving Ash has awakened a quiet part of his spirit he thought had been lost to storms of his own. Evening settles fully across the clinic, softening every corner of the room with a gentle haze of amber and quiet blue. Cole remains on the bench with Ash nestled against his chest, wrapped in the warm blanket that now carries both the scent of the dryer and the faint sweetness of the puppy's fur. Ash sleeps deeply, his tiny breaths brushing against Cole's shirt in soft, steady pulses. With each rise and fall, Cole feels something unexplainable settle into place, as if a missing weight has returned not to burden him, but to balance him. Dr. Blake finishes closing her files for the night, her movements slow and respectful, as though unwilling to disturb the quiet miracle unfolding in the corner. She approaches with a gentle smile. "He will need someone who can give him time, structure, and calm," she says. "He is strong, but he will look to you for guidance as he grows." Cole nods, keeping his voice low so it does not break the peace resting in his arms. "I can do that," he says, the words emerging with a quiet certainty. It does not feel like a decision. It feels like an answer to something he did not know he had been asking. Ash shifts, letting out a small hum of contentment. His paw nudges slightly against Cole's hand, not searching, not uncertain, just anchoring. As if confirming the bond that has been forming all day. Dr. Blake watches and then nods with a softness that suggests she has seen this kind of connection bloom before. "Animals like him," she says gently, "they do not just need a home. They need a heart they can trust. He picked yours before you even lifted that branch." Cole lowers his head slightly, allowing his cheek to brush the top of Ash's small head. The warmth there feels like a quiet truth. Outside, the sky deepens to a soft gray-blue, washed clean by the storm. The streetlights flicker on, casting a gentle glow across the parking lot and through the clinic windows. The world beyond feels distant, softened by the stillness inside. Ash stirs again, blinking himself awake just long enough to lift his gaze toward Cole. The look is faint, sleepy, but steady. Familiar. Unafraid. Cole smiles, a soft, unguarded curve that seems to melt the last remnants of tension from his shoulders. "You are going to be all right," he whispers. "We both are." Ash responds by nestling deeper into the blanket, his tiny body molding itself trustingly against Cole's chest. Dr. Blake steps back, giving them space, her voice barely above a whisper. "Some connections do not need explanation," she says. "They just need room to grow." The clinic lights dim slightly as she prepares to close for the night. Cole remains seated, unwilling to move too quickly, unwilling to disturb the fragile piece in his arms. He looks down at Ash, this tiny life that had been shaking beneath broken branches just hours earlier, and feels something steady rise within him. Not duty. Not obligation. Something gentler. Something that feels like grace finding its way back into a life that had forgotten what it felt like. Ash breathes softly, deeply, as if resting in the safest place he has ever known. And in that quiet, held moment, Cole realizes he is resting there too. The clinic has fallen into a gentle quiet, the kind that arrives only when the day has given all it had and the night steps in with softer hands. Cole remains on the bench, Ash curled peacefully against his chest, wrapped in the warm blanket that now feels like part of their shared breath. The puppy's tiny heartbeat taps through the fabric in a steady rhythm, no longer frantic, no longer fragile, but calm, sure, and deeply alive. Dr. Blake finishes locking a cabinet and turns toward them with a smile touched by a reverence that words cannot quite hold. "He is ready to go home whenever you are," she says softly. "Just keep him close tonight. Let him feel the warmth he has found." Cole nods, shifting slightly to support Ash's small body. The movement is careful, practiced now, shaped by hours of holding a life that once trembled beneath fallen branches. Ash stirs, blinking himself awake just enough to recognize the familiar heartbeat beneath him. His tiny paws stretch forward, brushing lightly against Cole's chest before curling back into the blanket. The trust in that small motion settles deep in Cole's spirit. Dr. Blake hands him a packet of instructions, her voice warm. "He will grow stronger each day. Nourishment. Rest. And you." Cole meets her eyes, gratitude shining through the quiet steadiness of his expression. "Thank you," he says softly. "For everything." She shakes her head gently. "You gave him the chance. I just guided him the rest of the way." Outside, the clinic lights cast a soft glow across the parking lot, reflecting off puddles left by the storm. Cole steps into the evening air, breathing in the coolness that carries no danger now, only calm. He opens the truck door slowly, climbing inside with Ash still nestled securely against him. The pup blinks up at him, eyes warm and full of a quiet recognition that feels older than the hours they have shared. Cole settles him into the crook of his arm, adjusting the blanket so the warmth gathers around him. As the engine hums to life, Ash shifts again, pressing his face into the fabric of Cole's shirt, seeking the comfort he has chosen for himself. The road home is gentle, washed clean by the storm, the trees lining the path standing tall as though guarding the peace that has taken root between man and pup. Cole drives slowly, mindful of the tiny breath rising and falling beside him. Ash gives a small sigh, a sound that carries the weight of a soul letting go of fear and allowing hope to settle in its place. When the truck reaches Cole's cabin outside town, the porch light glows softly, welcoming them both. Cole steps out, cradling Ash with a tenderness shaped not by habit but by something deeper, something rediscovered. The night air is cool, but Ash stays warm against him, trusting the steady hands that carry him forward. Inside the cabin, Cole places the puppy gently on a soft blanket near the hearth. Ash lifts his head, gazing up at him with sleepy certainty, as if acknowledging the strange, beautiful path that brought them here. Cole crouches beside him, brushing a hand over the little forehead that once trembled beneath broken branches. "You are home now," he whispers. Ash responds by leaning into his touch, his tiny body settling into the blanket with complete trust, as if that simple truth is enough to let him rest. And somewhere in that quiet space between breath and heartbeat, a simple understanding settles in, a reminder that even the smallest act of mercy can save two souls at once, binding them in a grace neither expected but both needed.